welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome. My name is Meg, and today I'm going to show you how to get the Aries zodiac. I am so pleased with how this look turned out, and I am so excited. Any zodiac sign that you are, you just replace the star constellation. You can easily look that up. So this looks complicated, but it's fairly simple to do. Although I will say I really took my time with it, so it's a little time consuming, but in the end, I think that it's something fun to wear, especially if you're at a costume party and you don't necessarily have a costume. It's kind of one of those great last minute, let's put some makeup on my face, makeup looks. If you are new, be sure to subscribe so you know when my new videos are out. And if you want to know when my next Halloween look is out, be sure to hit the bell button so you're notified. If you comment within the first hour, you can be part of Power Hour. I'll be in the comment section hanging out with y'all. I would like to know your reaction to this. What is your sign? I would love to know more about you guys. Also in the comments down below, leave me any other Halloween requests that you may have. And let's jump into this. All right, I already got some basic steps done, so you didn't have to sit through it. I already have my face primed. I have my Morphe primer on my eyelids. I outlined my brows so I can see where they're going. I carved them, and now I am ready for shadow. So I'm going to zoom you guys in. I have a couple different palettes that I'm working with today. I pulled the Thirsty palette from Jeffree Star Cosmetics because it has a lot of reds and yellows in there. I also have my BH Cosmetics Take Me Back to Brazil palette. I absolutely love this. It's great if you need an inexpensive, colorful rainbow palette. And I also have the James Charles and Morphe palette to dip in, so I'll be letting y'all know what I'm doing as I'm going. I have really no idea what I'm doing when I start these looks, so let's just go ahead and dive on in. I'm starting off with the James Charles palette. I'm taking the shade You're Kidding on a Morphe 506. This is a smaller blending brush. I really like working with these brushes first, and I'm just kind of following the outer shape of my eye because I want it to come up and be pretty rounded in the inner corner, but I'm also going to wing it out. So once I lay down the majority of the color, you can see I'm just taking whatever is left on my brush and just whipping it back there. And then I'm going to slowly build that up into a wing to connect to what's in the crease. And with this red color, I don't want to bring it all the way in. I only brought it about halfway in to my eye. I'm now taking the shade Bitch from the Jeffree Star palette, and I'm using the same brush, and I'm just working on blending this on the very outer edge. I love that this is such a neon bright color, so I'm using this to blend out You're Kidding, and I'm also focusing on having that on the exact middle of my eye. And here I am just kind of building up that outer wing shape, and again diffusing the edges. Holding your brush almost parallel, so mine's like up and down and very flat on my skin, it's just gonna help blend that specific area versus if I were to have it straight out or hold it the opposite way, it would fluff the shadow out more. And I really just wanted to keep it concentrated and just blend that specific part of my eye. And in between every step, I'm taking a large fluffy brush to make sure everything is nicely blended. That is always the key to a good makeup look. Using the same brush again, I just clean it off in between every step. I'm just packing on the shade Quench from the Thirsty palette, and I'm really going and extending that out almost onto the bridge of my nose, and then blending it in with the Bitch color and into You're Kidding. It just creates this beautiful, like vibrant neon orange. And I'm just picking up a little bit more of that yellow shadow, concentrating in the middle, and then just slowly taking whatever is left to blend that outer edge up in the crease. When you're working with really brighter or more neon shades, it can be really easy for the color to kind of become flat. So to add some dimension, I took a mixture of You're Kidding and No Beans from the James palette, and I think I dipped into No Beans twice because I didn't want it to be too dark. So I'm just taking that same brush and focusing this on my lid and into the very beginnings of my crease. I'm not going to blend it up too high, and I'm also going to focus it on my lash line just to add a little dimension and depth and darkness to that area. And of course, I'm going to go over everything with my big fluffy brush to make sure it's all nice, smooth, and blended. I always say where there is darkness and depth, there needs to be highlight and shimmer. So to add more dimension to my eye, I'm just taking my Glazed Donut Highlight by Nikki Tutorials and Ofra, again using that same brush, and I really like piling this onto my brow bone. It just really helps to make the eye look pop and the colors stand out even more. And again, your eye is just gonna look more dimensional. It's not just gonna look like you have shadow flat on your eye. Just adding those last two steps makes such a difference. I'm going in with my Tarte Shape Tape and a Sonia Kashuk 110 brush. I love using this brush to cut my crease, and that is exactly what we are doing. I'm just using small strokes to kind of trace around the natural shape of my eye. This is where things can get a little bit tricky because not everybody has a perfectly symmetrical face, so I know for me, my one eyeball is larger than the other. I try to not be a perfectionist about it and just embrace it because chances are people aren't going to notice anyways, and I feel like that's a huge intimidation factor when it comes to halo eyes and cut creases, is not having it exactly perfect. Sometimes we're a little too into our work, if that makes sense. So while I'm filling this in, I am just going to kind of wing it out in the sense that I'm going to have the concealer or highlight go back further than what I am on my lash line. You can kind of see how I'm leaving it at that angle, and blending the edge with your finger is going to help make the transition from stark concealer to shadow really nice and smooth. We're basically repeating what we already did in our crease on the cut crease, so I'm going back in with You're Kidding, the red shade that from the James palette, and again I'm having this all be at an angle, and then I'm going to go back in and put Bitch right on top of that to kind of help blend the edges. That's a good way to blend on top of your concealer, is to just put the next color right on that harsh edge to help blend it. But you can see I'm kind of leaving the space near the top where my crease is blank, and you'll see why in just a minute. So I'm really focusing the colors mostly on my lash line and kind of fading them up into the crease. And here is the gorgeous yellow from the Thirsty palette. I seriously think this is like one of my top favorite eyeshadow colors. It's just so beautiful. I'm not bringing this all the way to my inner corner because I want to have something bright, fun, sparkly right in the inner corner to help the eye look stand out even more. So I'm going back in with my trusty Glazed Donut Highlight. I use this for so many different things. I absolutely love this highlight. So this is going in the very inner corner, and then I'm going to, I missed it on this take, but I took a smaller brush and kind of finessed it through the top of the cut crease, and you'll see what that looks like in just a second, but I'm just lightly fading that across the top, and it's just going to add a nice dimension to the eye. Okay, I think I'm going to take a risk for the lower lash line. Hear me out. So I have the single shadow by Urban Decay that I just got in the shade Chaos. And I really, it's just been sitting on my desk for the last week, and I'm really feeling the innate urge to use it and slap it on my lower lash line. I know a lot of people associate Aries with red and with fire because it is a fire sign. However, blue is a good power color for Aries, and I learned this when I did my zodiac picks my makeup. So I think I'm gonna try to go for this bright blue under eye, and if it fails horribly, we have makeup wipes and we can do some red on the bottom. But I wanna see how this looks. I also put the Morphe primer on my under eye when I was doing all of this priming earlier. And yes, I'm using the same brush from before because I really wanted to fluff this on and smoke it out very quickly. I am digging this, so we're gonna work with it. All right, so for my base, I am just gonna use my L'Oreal Pro Glow and the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. I'm gonna put a very light coverage on my head because I have good vision. We're gonna put powders and stuff out there. Obviously you saw from the thumbnail. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put a light layer of this on in BRB. What's the best song in the world? Look into your eyes and it's easy to see. 1 and 1 make 2, 2 and 1 make 3. It was destiny. We love a good Tenacious D jam sesh. So for Lash to Stay, I'm going with Queen Bee, which I was surprised with. I wanted to go with my Demi G's, but when I was comparing them, I really like the soft wispiness of this, and I thought it was better suited for the look. So I am going to snatch those on in just a second, but before we get there, I'm gonna finish off my lower lash line. Where's the brush I was just using? Here it is. I'm gonna add this pop of baby blue to the inner corner. I'm actually like really living for how this blue lower lash line came out, because even though I'm an Aries and everybody associates us with red, you're actually not really supposed to wear red. It's not recommended. And red's not exactly my favorite color, so I'm happy that I could tie this in and still have it look fierce AF. Topping off the inner corner with glazed donut again, and then I will be popping on those lashes. I have too much like powder flying around. This cannot be good for my lungs. Anyways, I'm gonna pop on the lashes, add lower mascara, and then we'll be back to add more. So to finish up the eyes, I did add this LA Girl Shockwave neon liner in the shade Electric. I absolutely love these neon liners. I think that they're amazing. So I kind of wish I bought the purple one because I definitely would have put that in instead of the blue. So now it's time to transform the upper half of our face into like a galaxy. This is like the nerve-wracking part because it's like, what if this doesn't work? All right, let's go for it. Oh, I also slightly contoured and added bronzer to this area because I still want there to be some definition. We're definitely going to be putting color on our cheekbones, but I still wanted my cheekbones to be a little bit, you know, defined. This is truly the fun part of the tutorial for me. So when you think about a galaxy, you think of blues, purple, some pink is in there. So you always want to work darkest to lightest. So I'm just taking a combination of black and those two other purple colors. And I'm just using face brushes that I don't normally use, so I don't mind that I'm dirtying them up. And you want to do a stippling motion for sure, because when you think of the galaxy, it kind of has like a smokiness to it. It's not like flat or perfectly faded into each other. It's a little bit all over the place. So I'm going to pick up those three blues. The last one I showed, I thought maybe I would use. Nope, not using that one. But if you want to, you know, go ahead. I'm just showing you guys what I did. So I'm working in my contour area, and I am just slowly working my way down my forehead. So I'm trying to leave the center of it as light as possible. It's basically the same thing as contour and highlight. So here I am taking a combination of the two pinks. The hotter pink I used more up above, and this is where you need to be a little bit careful with the pink because this can go to bruise very, very quickly. So make sure that you're going back and forth with the blues and purples. If you notice that it's starting to look a little bit too bruisey, you can always go back in and correct that. And right around where my brows are, in the very middle of my forehead, I really packed on that lighter pink color. So I'm also transitioning this down onto my cheekbone so I have a nice fade when I introduce the opposite end of the spectrum, which we are getting into right now. So I am going to go ahead and use a combination of reds, orange, and yellows on the lower half of my face to represent the lighter side of the galaxy, because there's the light side, the dark side. I just wanted to tie it all in. So I'm just going through these colors with stippling motions again, just so everything is not too neat, perfect, and pretty. I wasn't exactly happy with the hot pink, so you know, you can totally skip that step, but I made it work. Ended up blending other colors on top of each other, and getting into your hairline is also important for these looks. So here I am just taking a combination of these colors from the Thirsty palette. Any sort of reds, orange, yellows, purples, pinks, and blues will work great. And I'm taking this yellow, this is an important part, and I'm just using this as my highlighter, so on my nose, on my cheekbones, and then to tie everything together to make it look like a mask, that's the direction I wanted to go into, I'm just using orange to tie that all in. All right, I'm just cutting my cheekbones just a hair, so I'm taking the straight edge of my Eco Tools sponge in some of that translucent powder and just kind of cutting it away. Bringing back glazed donut for a final time, and we are actually using it as a face highlight. So I am really piling this on because I want it to stand out, because again, it's going to give like a really cool effect to the skin. So on my forehead, I literally put a light layer of this everywhere because it just gave a very nice iridescence, which was very galaxy-like. And I really wanted my nose and cheekbones to stand out, so I really packed it on there.
For the actual stars, I'm using the NYX White Liquid Liner. So, of course, when you first pick a product up, it's pretty saturated, so you have the most of the product when you're first using it. So I really wanted the bigger stars to be on the outer edges of my contours of my face. And then as the product started to wear off and I was able to get more finer details, I brought that closer to the center of my face because we want the constellation in the center of our forehead to really stand out. So I wanted to have smaller stars near the center and have the bigger stars on the outer edge of my face. In this close-up, you can really see how detailed I got. I was putting dots in the winged out portion of the shadow on the lower lash line, kind of splayed it across the lower part of the mask, so to say, like freckles. And this is probably the most one of the most time-consuming parts of this look.
All right, so I'm looking up the constellation for Aries. And for me, I was going through different images and it looked a little bit too complicated looking at actual star constellations. So what I did was type in tattoo because that's more realistic of what I'm going to be doing. So trying to follow something like this is what I'm going to accomplish. And this is the scariest part because everything we've been doing has been leading up to this moment. And if we mess it up, it's like, oh. So it seems like it's kind of like that. I think I'm gonna try drawing it out a couple times to get used to it before I just go for it right here in the center of the forehead.
I definitely recommend drawing this at least twice before you just go for it. So for me, I drew it the normal way once to get an idea of the shape, and then I practiced drawing it backwards because, my friends, we do want to put this backwards on us because we do not want to pull a Karen from Mean Girls. Am I right? So here I am just kind of getting the line work in, and then I'm going to go ahead and focus on the dots that connect the lines together. The one thing that I personally struggled with was actually getting the dots to be a little bit bigger than how I already had them on my face, because with this NYX liner, the brush is super flexible, so it can be really hard to kind of get that perfect looking circle. And again, that's the perfectionist in me. So I wasn't really happy because I felt like the circles were looking a little lopsided, and again, sometimes you just need to take a minute away from a project and come back to it. So I was trying to figure out, how can I make this look better? How can I make my circles look more perfect? So I looked for the skinniest eyeshadow brush that I had, and I painted the bottom of it with the liner and stamped it on, and that was pretty big. So then, to make that not look weird, I started building up the lines and making it look thicker, and it honestly turned out to be a disaster. If you like the way this looks, then that's great. I wish I would have left it like this, but right now, no, that's a no. I went too hard, too far, too much, ruined it.
All right, update. I felt like the constellation was a little bit too big, a little bit too thick. I thought it looked a little bit funny, and I was just gonna correct it off camera, but I thought that this might be helpful for you in case you mess up any makeup look. So, if I don't die, I literally just scraped it off. I just took an end of a brush, like a skinny brush, makeup wipe, and just, scraped it off my forehead. And all I did was take a little bit of foundation, like hardly any at all, and I just lightly filled that area in. So I'm gonna re-powder it and just hope it looks okay. Because we're gonna be drawing over the same area anyways, I'm not super concerned about it looking like 100% flawless. So I'm just gonna reset this area with some face powder, and then just go back in with the blue, purple, and pink, and then redraw the constellation. It's pretty simple fix, so if you spend all your time and mess up the main component, don't worry, you can always correct it. Here is the finished look. I am so happy and just pleased with how this turned out. I wasn't sure how like the orangey parts of the galaxy would tie in with like the blues, pinks, and purples, but I think it turned out really well. And the best part of this look is that the further away you go, the more interesting it looks. So being up close is one thing, but also taking a step back gives you a different perspective. I'm just obsessed with how this turned out. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to check out my other videos right here. Be sure to subscribe, hit the bell button if you want to be notified when my new videos are live. Thank you so much for sticking it out, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.